Manchester United among the clubs interested in PSG outcast Kolo Muani. They'd want to get him on loan. This is according to David Ornstein. Welcome to the United Road Sport. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Depending on which part of the world you are in, it's good you're here. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video, and share as we get this late night or early morning update, depending on what time you catch this video. Now, there is this new confirmation that has come from a credible source in David Ornstein, who has said that Tottenham, Man United, and Juventus are exploring a deal to sign Kolo Muani on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. And their interest has been expressed by both clubs, especially by the three clubs, and they currently are viewed as the top contenders to sign the 26-year-old French international, and he's also seen as one of the best versatile attackers available. And well, first of all, like I said, this is coming from a very credible source. We're talking a player, Kolo Muani, who I've spoken about here before on several occasions. Speaking about his style of play, he's a good finisher. I know Didier Deschamps, the French coach, did refer to him as a good finisher. He's known for his trickery. I do remember at some point people were comparing him to the great Thierry Henry because of his style, how he runs in behind from deep, runs behind defenders, makes good runs, something that's lacking in Man United's forwards. There's something in him. And the beauty with Kolo Muani and why maybe at afterthought, because I personally did not quite think he's a player who would suit this Man United team, because for the most part I was looking at him as more of a winger, because he can come quite from wide. Even in France, when he came on, you'd see him play from the wide areas, or at times as a false nine, because he's not really your natural number 9. But the thing is, he played with Glasner at Frankfurt, Oliver Glasner, the current coach of Crystal Palace. And he plays near the same system as Ruben Amorim. And one thing he's known for is his tackling. He's a good tackler. His dribbling and finishing, definitely. But also, he has got a good work rate that you think is something that Amorim would work with. And I look at him as maybe one that he can play at times as a 9, at times, because he has got the speed and pace. And of course, not quite at the level of Marcus Rashford, but maybe close to that, which I think is important for a number 9 in this Ruben Amorim system. You've got to have a bit of speed to get there on time. But also, I do believe he can play as a left wing back, and giving you that attacking, finesse. Now you can imagine if you have him on one of the wings, as because he's right-footed, invert him and put him on the left where Dalot plays, and you're having him as an attack-minded player instead of having him as a defensive player. Then behind him, where Lisandro Martinez plays, because at times people have viewed Martinez for his lack of height as a weak link in the back 3 system. And of course, I know that might sound silly to question Martinez and whether he should be a starter or not. I mean, I do think because of size, we saw how he conceded a goal because of his lack of size, and in a header against Joelinton, you do recall. And we know that Ruben Amorim loves to play with big players in his back 3, which I think every coach in a back 3 you need big players. So that's why Nuno Mendes is looked at as one who could come in as well. So Kolo Muani perhaps could make sense if United could get him on loan, because again, a loan deal is any loan deal for a decent player for Man United in January makes sense, of course, knowing that there is no money. So this is something coming in from David Ornstein. It's a late update in terms of transfers. He has been linked with several other clubs, including Tottenham, who seem to be leading in their race for him. I think they are more advanced than Man United in their pursuit. I think they view him as a proper replacement for a struggling Timo Werner, who they got hoping he would help Ange Postecoglou to try and make a case for himself and his Spurs team in the top 4 race. But clearly, they are falling far behind in terms of that race. But I think, there's something to work with there. And the trust I have in Ruben Amorim is he wouldn't bring in a profile of a player he doesn't feel can suit his playing style. But I think the easiest, why he could be a quick win is the fact that he has played in the same system before under Oliver Glasner at Frankfurt, and that is where he's shown most. For PSG to even pay over 80 million, quid for him to join them, just only for them to fail to utilize him, and he's in a good age. He's 26, not good in terms of being young, but I think it's a certain level of maturity that comes in handy for this Man United team that is mostly going into a period of transition, but also the fact that he's coming on loan. And I think loan solutions could be the more logical ones to think about for Man United in this Jan. So it's an interesting development that we are looking at. It's, of course, one we are going to wait and see whether it could materialize. But, David Ornstein usually breaks stories that are good. But like I said, their bidding was, and perhaps at some point, depending on how serious United could be, it might depend on the player and where he wants to go. Is it Man U or Tottenham who are looking to be more interested and more advanced in their pursuit of him? Because I think they have spoken already to the player's side. Man U is more, I think, in advanced stages to try and get Nuno Mendes from PSG. The beauty about this deal also is the fact that Man U already has a working relationship with PSG. I think usually during transfers, especially this January transfer window, which is a bit sensitive, and there's not so many opportunities available, it's easier to work with teams you've worked with before because there's already a working relationship to start from. There's somewhere to start from. So I think, given that and the fact that United has already got Manuel Ugarte from PSG, perhaps that makes it even maybe a little easier for them to go back into these loan talks and perhaps figure out a solution, especially given the fact that PSG have made it clear they are not interested in keeping him. He's not in the plans of Luis Enrique, and neither is the player, of course, trying to push and stay. So it's a good exit, and I think it's a win-win for all clubs. So maybe that's the advantage United, if Amorim seriously wants him, that United could have over Tottenham, the fact that there has been a working relationship going on already from as early as the previous transfer window. So that's the update going on. But what I've liked today is I think most of the stories that are coming out of Man United seem to be more clear sources, more defined sources. They seem to be more feasible. I mean, there are reports that can make sense. You look at a Kolo Muani being loaned to Man U and you're thinking, that could be a solution in terms of the attack and the intensity of the game, because he's an intense player, which Amorim wants to see in his team. Maybe I only have disquests about his ability to track back, but I think, again, like I said, if Amorim is zeroing down on him and saying let him come in, then certainly he does know he can track back, he can get him to do that. And of course, his clinicality, because he's a good finisher, and this has been said inconsistently about him, and we've seen, never mind him missing the chance in the World Cup. I think people want to dwell a lot on that World Cup chance that he missed against Argentina. But I feel like that's unfair to judge a player who was scoring goals for fun at Frankfurt a few seasons ago. So, yeah, loan, people will tell you why United gets a PSG reject for a solution. I think on loan in our current circumstances, I think it's okay. It doesn't mean that because he failed to perform at PSG, it means he's not good enough or he's a poor player. That's why clubs are talking about him. It's not by mistake that is so. So for me, I think there's a player in there. So I like the fact that the stories that are coming about United, the Zagzi story, talk about Marcus Rashford, talk about Kolo Muani now, are coming from good sources. You hear Rashford's story coming from Di Marzio, then you hear the Zagzi story coming from Fabrizio himself. Then of course, David Ornstein, for me, is ahead of Fabrizio when it comes to breaking top stories that usually are imminent, because I do believe that Athletic is more close to Man United perhaps than any news source. So you feel that work is being done. And even Amorim said after the game against Liverpool that the window is open and let's see what happens. Usually that's a sign that there is work going on behind the scenes. So for me, I think this January transfer window, like we anticipated, might not be one where we splash a lot of cash because it's not there. But I think you clearly see a determination and a sort of urgency to try and find solutions to some of the problems that United has at the time. And for me, that's credible enough. It's progress, and we can only wait to see where it all ends. Now, Amad Diallo as well is almost about to sign his contract. I think it's so advanced that it's a matter of time, question of when, not if, he will sign it. New contract, increased wages, like we told you before. All parties, I think, are on the same page now. So you can imagine, Amorim has no time to waste, clearly, getting solutions quickly, and you want to see this. Well, let's wait and see what the first deal will be this January, or the first deal with Ruben Amorim at the helm of Man United. It's always important because it's after seasons like this, it's after the transfer windows that people start scrutinizing you proper, because you've got a chance to spend money and buy players. So Amorim knows this. They better work. Otherwise, the same people who are seeing the hope and the fire that is brought at Man United will be the first to turn their backs on him and call for his head. But I don't think it will get to that. There is a certain belief and hope I have in Amorim that I honestly didn't have in any of the past managers. Maybe with the exception of Van Gaal. I thought of quite felt good about Van Gaal. I have not quite felt as good about a Man United manager or head coach post Fergie than I have about, or like I have about Ruben Amorim. So keep it positive. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. I'll catch you later.